The Morning Drive podcast from Double T 97.3 is presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
I'm Mike Hebert, owner of Cantex Roofing and Construction. Every day is game day, and we'll get it right when it comes to your roofing, construction, windows, and mirrors. Call Cantex Roofing and Construction today. Together, we are one serving you.
Good morning with Jamie Lent and Jeff McGuire. I'm Chuck Heinz. Great to have you with us today. All right, Cowboys yesterday, Jamie. I listened to quite a bit of this game. More for just the listening enjoyment of Brad Sham and Babe Laufenberg, and also to see if I could learn anything about this Cowboy team. I realized it was an exhibition game involving not very many Cowboys that are going to actually be Cowboys come the first game of the season. There was one thing in there that was, I think, really irritating to Babe Laufenberg, and probably going to be very irritating to the Cowboys, offensive coordinator, quarterback coach, and head coach. So Trey Lance got to play in the game, which everybody's waiting to see him. He went 25 of 41 for 188 yards. But that's not the play to talk about. The play that's going to be talked about ad nauseum for the Cowboys occurred on their second possession. The game's 3-3 at this point in time. Cowboys get the ball down to a 4th and 1 at the Rams 3. And, normally this would be a situation probably where you would run the ball. You'd hand the ball off to Zeke or somebody like that, pick up the first down and just continue the drive, right? But apparently, Brian Schottenheimer and Mike McCarthy and whomever is involved in this decision wanted to see if Trey Lance could complete a pass in the end zone. And Babe Laufenberg was all kinds of disgusted with how Trey Lance handled that situation and handled that pass, and how he hung onto the ball too long, and basically said, that's really all you need to know right there. The fact that he didn't complete the pass, that he held on to it. He goes, that was an easy touchdown. All he had to do is take the ball, throw it, and it was and the receiver was going to catch it in the end zone. I don't think I've ever heard Babe Laufenberg be as... I've heard him be disgusted with execution and how players have handled things, but, he was, I think, disappointed, disgusted, and just kind of like, hey, it was almost like, for all you Trey Lance fans out there that think he should be playing, here's why he's not. Was that one play? It was just really interesting as they were breaking this thing down after they went to the commercial break and came back. He was still kind of going on about it.
Okay. Babe obviously being an NFL quarterback and being good at his job as a radio color analyst, probably can analyze talent and a little bit quicker than the average eye.
Sure.
And if he saw something there that led him to believe, the dude just doesn't have it.
Mm-hmm. I'm not saying they're going to cut him or anything like that, but it was just...
Yeah, maybe that's like the mental part of the game, because it wasn't about his ability to throw the ball. It was his ability to see the opening and be confident and quick with his decision-making and all that. Mm-hmm. That the game's going too fast for him still and all. That's a situation where, again, a guy that's more of a trained eye than you and I maybe can see that kind of thing and say, never, that's not going to change.
Because I'm in my backyard. I'm like, what are we doing here? Why don't we just hand the ball off? Pick up the first down. But this is what these preseason games are for, right? Just to learn what your players can do in certain situations that you can't necessarily set up in camp. The intended receiver was Jalen Moreno Cropper, who's probably not going to be, involved in anything, when it all comes down to it. He's a receiver from Fresno State. He caught 4 balls for 26 yards. I don't know if he's going to make the team or not. It's not like it's CeeDee Lamb down there, trying to catch the ball, because he's obviously not playing. But anyway, that was just something that stood out to me about the ball game. And then the other thing.
So it sounds like that you feel like Babe Laufenberg is like, Trey Lance is never going to be the answer for us. If you're one of those people that's like, hey, let Dak walk and let's give this Trey Lance guy a chance. I mean, he was a top 3 pick in the draft. Let's give him a shot. It sounds like Babe Laufenberg is like, that's never going to happen.
That's kind of what it sounded like to me. It's kind of like, hey, for as long as you've been here, you should be able to be in this situation where you. And
you also wonder if the Dak Prescott situation and hearing those kind of things from typical fans, hey, let's let Dak walk, let's not pay him, let's see if this guy can do it. You almost wonder if that was a message from Babe Laufenberg to those folks, right?
Maybe so.
To say, quit with that talk. That's not going to happen. This guy is not it.
Yeah. Yeah, he didn't say that, but
he's not going to.
But it just came off like, this guy's not the answer. Yeah, this guy's not the answer. A guy that may not be an answer for the Rams, but they may not have a choice because Jimmy Garoppolo is not available to him the first couple of games of the season because of being suspended for PEDs or something along those lines. Stetson Bennett, he threw 4 interceptions. He should have thrown 5 because the Cowboys intercepted him a 5th time. But unfortunately for the Cowboys, they had a penalty on the play. This is after they've taken a lead of 12-6. The Cowboys had a lead of 9-6. The Cowboys could not get in the end zone at all. So now they're up 12-6, and the Rams come down and they're right around 2 minutes to go in the ball game. Cowboys intercept the ball. It's right before the 2-minute warning, and there's a penalty on the play for defensive holding. It was 4th and 9 at the LA 31-yard line with 2:11 to go in the game. Cowboys intercept the ball, and there's a defensive holding call that nullifies the play. And so they get the ball back. They get a 5-yard penalty. 2-minute warning comes, and then the Rams end up scoring a touchdown and win the ball game 13-12. So it's not so disappointing that they lost the game. It's just some things that took place during the game that's like, again, these aren't the real Cowboys, but still, you hate seeing those kind of penalties by anybody that nullifies a victory because it just kind of feels like those things become contagious.
Your daily dose of sports and fun. This is the Morning Drive Podcast from Double T 97.3, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
A Morning Drive, time for this day in sports history. Today is August the 12th, 2024. Here's Jeff McGuire.
Starting 1948, Cleveland Indians get 29 hits in a 9-inning game.
And scored 3 runs.
Probably. 1963, Stan Musial announces that he will retire at the end of the year. A year later, Mickey Mantle would switch hit a home run for the record 10th and final time in a game, with one going 502 feet.
They don't get many 500-footers these days.
Don't get many switch hit home runs these days. It's pretty much if you can bat left-handed, they're going to make you bat left-handed now as opposed to having you go back and forth. 1970, Curt Flood loses his $41 million antitrust lawsuit against baseball. 1986, Don Baylor gets hit by a pitch for a record 25th time in a season.
That doesn't seem like that would be a record. Seems like
at that point in time.
Yeah, that seems low to me. But maybe I'm just used to college baseball where pitchers have less control and there's more HBPs in college baseball. That's probably what I'm thinking.
I mean,
Don Baylor crowded the plate and
he would lean in
and would not move
and take those
and that's
those
why
hits.
25 seems low to me.
In 1994, Chuck Heinz was a very, very happy guy.
Okay.
It was the first NFL game on the Fox network. Exhibition San Francisco versus Denver.
This will come as no shock to you. I was critical of that. I thought that it would be a Mickey Mouse operation, and I was concerned about who the announcers were going to be, even in 1994, and I proved to be wrong on that.
I think you were wrong in the fact that right off the bat with a Mickey Mouse operation, I think that's the only one that Mickey Mouse doesn't own, right?
Right.
Pretty much.
Right.
In 2018, former Red Raider Chad Bettis gets a hard luck no decision after going 6 innings and a third, giving up 1 run on 3 hits in a Rockies 4-3 win over the Dodgers. Happy National Jillian Fries Day, also known as French fries, because they're the long, thin strips.
Okay.
So we're all fans.
Jillian Fries?
Jillian Fries.
That was their initial name?
It's the way the cut is. It's a French style of cutting where it's the long, thin strips.
Okay, so that wouldn't be like waffle fries.
No. That would this
those
would
are
be
not Jillian
those
fries.
are not Jillian fries.
They have to be long.
They have the long and skinny ones, and not wedge cut because those are thick.
Okay.
And now we get to one of the more frustrating birthdays for our Red Raiders, and I say this only because I don't know how old. I just know that it is. Happy birthday, former Texas Tech wide receiver Jashawn Johnson. Cannot find anywhere what year he was born.
Really?
I could narrow it down to about 4, give or take. Can't figure out which one it actually was.
Safety?
Did I say wide receiver? I meant safety. Why am I thinking wide receiver?
He's a grad assistant right now, I think.
You just go ask him.
I could, but I never see him to ask him when it's his birthday. But happy birthday, Jashawn. Hope you have a great one. Tyson Fury is 36, Plexico Burr is 47, and Mike Gundy is 57, no longer 40. And on this day, 1990, fossil hunter Susan Hendrickson discovers 3 huge bones jetting out of a cliff near Faith, South Dakota. They turn out to be part of the largest ever Tyrannosaurus Rex skeleton ever discovered. A 65 million year old specimen dubbed Sue after its discoverer. Amazingly, Sue's skeleton was over 90% complete, and the bones were extremely well preserved. Hendrickson's employer, the Black Hills Institute of Geological Research, paid $5,000 to the landowner, Maurice Williams, for the right to excavate the dinosaur skeleton. Sue's skeleton went on display at the Field Museum in Chicago in May of 2000. Their tremendous T-Rex stood 13 feet high at the hips, 42 feet long from head to toe, and has a 2,000-pound skull with 58 teeth.
Goodness.
It is displayed in a special exhibition in their space.
If you found fossils of a dinosaur, would you name him Chuck? They named this one Sue after
I don't know if I'd name him Chuck.
You don't think so?
I don't think so. I think I'd just
Dino or
something.
Dynamite?
Dynamite. I don't think I'd name it Chuck.
He'd name it the Big Phenom.
Yeah.
And that is this day in sports history.
There we go. 6:51 this morning here on the morning drive. One other thing from the Cowboy game yesterday. This was really funny. The Cowboys have a receiver, and this guy has been with the Cowboys before and other teams. Tyrone Billy Johnson. Okay, it's Tyrone Billy Johnson. His mom's last name was Billy, and his dad's last name is Johnson. Okay, but Babe Laufenberg told Brad Sham, as they were talking about him, and he was relating this story, he said to Brad Sham, he goes, but he wants to be called T-Billy. And Sham says this, and you can only imagine, you can just listen for your Brad Sham voice in your head. Sham immediately says, yeah, I'm not calling him that.
Thank you, Brad.
I'm a little concerned, though, that Chuck didn't mention his favorite part of the broadcast during the Cowboys game yesterday.
Which was?
Where Babe was talking about how his favorite brother has changed.
Yes, I did. I was tuned in for that.
Because really, that was the best part of that broadcast.
Oh, they played a closing billboard.
It's the same one from last year. There was no change there. There was nothing new there.
That was pretty funny, though.
No, it really wasn't. It was rather stupid, but so was the game. So it was the.
So he said, claimed he has changed his favorite brother.
One of his brothers has bought a house or leased a place on the beach, and Babe has been staying with him while they've been at Cowboys training camp.
Oh, nice.
So
nice.
as a result of that, he's now his favorite brother.
Yeah, I can understand that.
Yeah.
This was in the late third, early fourth quarter of a game where you were up by 3 and hadn't scored an offensive touchdown. Actually, that tells you how riveting the Cowboys game was yesterday.
Frankly, I enjoyed the broadcast yesterday because
Brad Sham was on the radio.
When Brad Sham and Babe Laufenberg get off the rails a little bit on some things, it's highly entertaining. And they got off the rails a little bit yesterday, much like in the Ranger game, with now the kind of the Rangers, the way that they're playing. Eric Nadel and Matt Hicks have kind of gotten off on the rails on things a little bit, telling some stories and things along those lines, because
we would have never guessed that you'd have been a guy that was really into the getting off the rails.
The stories and things like that.
We would have never guessed that.
Yeah. Nadel was talking about DJ LeMahieu and how he's one of the,
he's hitting like 200.
Yeah, but he was talking about, his winning batting titles with both, the Rockies and the Yankees, and he was talking about how many hits he has as a Major League Baseball player, and Nadel says, keep in mind, the majority of those took place in Colorado. little shot there.
I don't think it helps your number of hits that much. It might help your home run total.
Right.
But
maybe it was the home runs that he was talking about, because but anyway, it was just kind of funny listening to.
Yankee fans don't think it's funny that he's hitting around 200. So.
I know she won 2 out of 3, so take what you can get and move on. Right, 6:54 this morning here.
Take some more hits.
This is the Morning Drive Podcast from Double T 97.3, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
Take your thoughts and comments on the Yates Flooring Center chat line. Go to the Double T 97.3 mobile app. It's presented by Happy State Bank. All right, the Red Raiders scrimmaged on Saturday. It was closed to the public, or the general public, and to the media as well, as they're getting ready for that first game against Abilene Christian. Right away after practice, Coach McGuire described it as a very physical practice. He did talk about how the offense dominated the red zone, but there were too many pre-snap penalties. They did have Big 12 officials there to kind of help them, kind of get integrated as to how things are going to work during a game.
So basically what you're saying is to get used to the craziness.
Yeah, right. And they had the PA going, and they had the stuff in their helmets where they could.
I thought it was interesting that when he was discussing the Big 12 officials, he said, they're going to call it. They're going to call it in September, October, and November, and December. It's like, are we just naming all the months now, Coach? Is that where we're going now? I think he
even got to January, too.
He may have.
Yeah, I think he did.
He just kept on going. I was like,
February, March, that's April and May, June and July and October. The whole thing.
He didn't get that far.
However that little song goes. So I went there for a specific mission, Jamie. I wanted to hear what he had to say about the practice and the scrimmage, but 1A for me was to address the wide receiver blocking situation, and asked him, said, specifically that I said Coach Johnson. I didn't say Juice. I said Coach Johnson talked about wide receivers and how well they're doing, blah, blah, blah. I didn't use the blah, blah, blah. But I said, can you comment on wide receiver blocking, and have you seen that in practice so far this fall? And here's the interaction with Coach McGuire.
Yeah, that was the one thing why Dre McCray really stood out. And he stood out because he was on the screen side as far as getting some of the screens and, producing some good yardage. That probably, as a whole, whenever I talk about physicality, the offense and defense of some of those screens, they were really physical. And then we had a big play to get the red zone started to Josh Kelly, and Micah Hudson's out there on the edge blocking and being really physical. I mean, that's another thing that, Josh Kelly, both of them do a really good job blocking for each other.
Is that a want-to thing or a coaching thing?
I think, the coaching part is, maintaining your leverage and then understanding, let the defensive guy sometimes, if he starts winning, let him go where he wants to go, just maintain contact, so he's not just free making plays on the ball. But a lot of it's want to. I mean, you got to go out there and you got to want to block on the perimeter, because it's tough. There's going to be a lot of bodies flying around if we're really running to the football whenever it comes to the screen game.
So that's a point of emphasis for you guys this year?
No doubt. We've got to be better because two things. We got to be better because it's, just easy yards, it's layups. And then we have too many guys at the skill position, like talking about Dre McCray, Josh Kelly, Caleb Douglas, Jordan Brown, guys that are really, really good screen guys, Micah Hudson, that are so sudden. We got to do a better job on the perimeter.
Okay, so there you go. Your thoughts, reaction to that?
Okay, he said all the right things. I mean, you kind of led him to it.
Well, but
so that's a point of emphasis,
well,
right, Coach? Right, Coach.
But I wanted him to say. I mean, if I say it, it doesn't mean anything. But if he says it, it means everything, right?
Well, he didn't say it. He just agreed with you.
He did agree with me. Well, I mean, it was at least, I tried.
Yeah. Your line of questioning was good, and I thought you led him to the fact that it's a want to thing. Mm-hmm. It's a want to thing, but I mean, the other part of the coaching aspect of it is if you got guys that aren't want toing, do something about it. Mm-hmm. Okay, do something about it. We're not going to throw you the ball. You're not going to go out and run patterns for us if you don't have the want to block, or you're not going to be in the game.
Yeah.
Okay, and so it never felt like that was a point of emphasis last year because it was terrible. And you're either coaching against it or allowing it to happen.
Right.
And we allowed it to happen a whole bunch. Yet we continued to run the screen plays when we knew our wide receivers didn't have the want to block. So somebody, one hand's got to figure out what the other one's doing. Mr. Johnson has to tell Mr. Kitley, hey, our wide receivers really aren't into blocking, okay? So let's not run the screens, okay? Or Mr. Kitley has to say to Mr. Johnson, for us to run these screens, which we really want to do, we think they make sense, we need your guys to block.
To want to.
To want to block,
yeah, to
okay?
Want to.
You need to make sure they have want to. If they don't, let's find different people to replace them. Mm-hmm. And maybe that's what we did in the offseason.
Maybe so.
Yeah.
Maybe we injected a bunch of want to, into kind of as we went back and looked at film and things along those lines and said, clearly we don't have enough want to here.
It's like when I was talking earlier about Babe Laufenberg. Okay, he can see things differently as a former NFL player and all that. You and I shouldn't be able to figure out things that they can't.
Right?
Yeah. I don't think we did. Mm-hmm. Okay? But clearly wide receiver blocking was not a what did he say? What did you ask him if it was
point of emphasis?
Point of emphasis. It was not last year.
Didn't seem like it.
Did not seem like that was a big deal at all.
Or
and if it's not going to be, again, Mr. Juice needs to tell the kit, hey, we're not going to block, so let's just throw the ball down the field to these guys.
And, there was a way that some previous offensive coordinators gave the wide receivers the want to. Because
you're not going to get the ball.
You're not going to get the ball if you don't block.
Mm-hmm.
So all of a sudden, hey, if I want to catch any passes this year, I should learn how to block so that I can get on the field and get in on some of those plays where I could be catching the football.
Yeah. So anyway,
he gave all the right answers, said all the right things.
So now we can go back later if it doesn't happen and go, what happened to the emphasis on wide receiver blocking if they don't block?
And when you hear Coach McGuire talk about the physicality of wide receivers, that's what we're talking about.
Yeah. And he said at the beginning of that question, he said that's why the practice was so physical, was with what they were doing with the wide receivers. That's what made it so physical, and that's and he did say that's what made Dre McCray stand out in the practice scrimmage on Saturday. So I felt like, wow, that's progress.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's great to hear.
Yeah.
That's great to. Again, it's a fairly different group of guys.
Yeah.
And so I have all the confidence in the world that they can be guys that, can be good at blocking. But I do think it has to be. I think it has to be impressed upon these guys that, hey, it matters. It's important. Okay? And if you can't do it because for whatever reason, as the offensive coordinator, you have to say, hey, we can't run the screens because we can't get it blocked on the outside.
Yeah. Yeah. So, he's...
But it worked in Madden 25 or NCAA football 25, whatever it is y'all are playing. It worked.
I'm not playing that.
I just said y'all.
Yeah, you did.
I just said y'all.
And
Holy cow.
You accused me of playing some kind of game like that.
I just said y'all. Wow. Where did that come from?
You're one of us, Jamie.
Wow, that's interesting.
The Morning Drive podcast from Double T 97.3 is presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction. Jamie's question of the day on Double T 97.3 is brought to you by Connecticut of West Texas.
All right, gentlemen. I kind of already answered this question myself.
Okay.
But we get to hear your responses, and I'll solidify my answer. But tell me, heading into the season, which position group you're still worried about? Despite any talk that you've heard, and I mean, despite the fact that we think our quarterback's 100% healthy, or that we think we have depth in all these positions, or whatever. Just tell me which position group you're a little bit worried about.
I'm going to be worried about quarterback until we get to a point where the quarterback gets hit hard and gets back up and throws the ball with authority, whether it's down the field to a screen or just able to stay on the field. So I'm going to stick with quarterback because I just feel like you've only got one right now, and I realize that they feel like, hey, the guy that's going to be the backup can be a difference maker on certain running situations and things like that, but it ain't Tyler Shuck backed up by Baron Morton this year. It's just not. And if you can't protect him and if you can't keep him upright, then what the defensive line does, putting pressure on the quarterback, means nothing. The wide receiver blocking means nothing. The defensive backs, defending mean nothing. Kicking field goals means nothing. So to me, I'm going to stick with the quarterback.
Okay, I love how in the very beginning there you included the screen game in. If you can't get the screen game going. I mean, you would think that we could seriously, at the quarterback position, you would think we could put one of the three of us in there and we could do the screen game for the quarterback. I mean, it's take the snap, one step, throw it to the right. Maybe not the three of us, but like Choice or Clint, okay? At least one of those
Choice,
guys.
maybe. But I still think Choice would be slow of foot. He looks slow of foot to me. He just doesn't look... When I see Choice, I don't think speed, okay? I just don't.
Well, I mean, but you don't when you look at Ben Roethlisberger either, and he was a pretty good quarterback.
Yeah. I don't see a guy that can take the first step and is going to deke anybody out, okay?
Okay.
Well, you're not deking anybody on the screen. It's step and throw.
There's no read, really, or anything.
You know where you're going with it as soon as you get the football. I think our biggest issue with throwing a screen pass might be accepting the snap. That might be the hardest part for us.
Choice would hit the panic button.
Choice and his heavy legs would panic.
You panic very quickly.
And you realize that we're in the shotgun already, right, Chuck? So we're not having to move back a whole lot.
You know who I think...
I'd be more worried that Choice would just want to tuck and run.
Yes.
He would fake the screen and just want to run.
You know who would be the improviser? It'd be Haxton. Haxton would be... I mean, he'd He'd be like that guy from Kentucky. Remember the big guy from Kentucky?
The hefty lefty?
The hefty lefty. Hacks would
Was
be
that
back
Brian Leftwich?
Hacks would be back there. He'd kind of look around. He wouldn't sweat a bead. Throw it over there to the screen.
You think you just complimented him and you have offended him so much.
Probably so.
And our fine listening audience will tell him during
I know.
the bottom line.
He'll defend me. He'll say, yeah, he's right. He's right. My back's bad. My knees are bad. I'm a little overweight, but I can still get rid of the football.
All right, so I have no actual cash in my wallet because I don't carry it anymore. But I would bet all of the cash in my pockets and my wallet and everything else against Chuck, against all the money in his, that Haxon will not compliment Chuck today.
Yeah, he will be offended.
He will. Okay.
Yeah,
well, I don't mean it as an offense. I don't mean to be offensive to him.
And this person on the chat line is 1,000% correct. There should not be any improvisation on a screen.
That doesn't mean Choice wouldn't.
It just means get rid of it.
Okay, so back to the original question of the which position group are we still nervous about? I feel like it's a cheating answer to say everything but Taj Brooks and your kicking game. So I'm going to give you the one I'm most concerned about. I think there's questions across the board at every position that I still need answers to, which we won't get till the beginning of the season. But I'm going to go with your offensive line because your quarterback can have a cannon for an arm if he's on his backside because the offensive line can't block in front of him for pass protection and won't do him any good. Yes, Taj Brooks can be an all-world running back for us, but while he can break tackles, it'd sure be nice for him to break the tackles on the other side of the line of scrimmage instead of behind the line of scrimmage. So that's still where my concern is, and I think that's just going to be a concern until we see, oh, look, all of a sudden the former Alabama offensive line coach is now your offensive line coach and has recruited guys that are in the NFL for the next 20 years that it would take for me not to be worried about the offensive line.
I think that's totally fair. I think Chuck's is totally fair, too. I think he maybe went a little bit over the top, and we'll get to that. But so I'm back to edge rusher. I feel like we can talk about over the years all the different things that, we joked last week about how we all are so desperate to have a tight end be really good here, right? But over the years, I mean, it just feels like you've hardly ever been good at getting after the quarterback, right? And you had that 2008 season, and what did you have? You had two really good edge rushers, two really good ones, okay? Both of them a little bit off. But they were good.
That's a description. It fits. Okay. That's a description.
A little psychotic, but
especially McGinner Dixon. Okay, maybe not so much Brandon Williams. He was a better dude, but whatever. You get after the quarterback, and it's not lost on me that that's the best season that you've had in a long, long, long time. Mm-hmm. Okay, to have two guys that defenses have to worry about, and I just feel like we have to find a way to be able to get to the quarterback without, bringing extra guys, from the linebacking core and all that. And so I'm still worried about rushing the quarterback, and to me that starts with edge rushers, and you lost one. And your depth went a little bit thinner this weekend. Especially,
like you said, with what you lost with Dylan Spencer. And the texter makes a good point, too, about him being worried about the edge rushers with the Adedira's backup out. And he says, unfortunately, Adedira has been somewhat injury-prone as well. Yeah, it's fair. It's fair. Fair what you said. Fair what everybody said.
Your daily dose of sports and fun. This is the Morning Drive Podcast from Double T 97.3. Presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction. Getting your sports day started the right way. The Morning Drive on Double T 97.3 and Double T97.3.com.
8:02 this morning here on the Morning Drive, hour 2 of 3. I was just getting ready to say it's gone so smoothly today. It's gone quickly today.
8:02 of 24 hours
yes,
today.
8:02 of 24 hours. Good morning with Jamie Lent and Jeff McGuire. I'm Chuck Heinz. We come to you from the First United Bank studio and continue to take your thoughts, comments, your observations from the weekend, maybe your anticipation for school starting. get everybody back into their routine on Wednesday for the most part. I'm sure there's somebody that's starting today and somebody that's starting tomorrow, but the main ones, Lubbock Cooper, Friendship, Lubbock Independent School District, all starting on Wednesday, okay? So tee it up, get your kids out of the house, get everybody back into some kind of routine by the end of the week. And hopefully everybody has a good first day of school whenever it is at your house.
School zones.
Be careful of the school zones. Don't run anybody over.
They will be watching.
And they'll be watching, but you want to make sure you watch out for the little kids. And
you will get a driver appreciation award.
And the distracted moms and dads, too, that they're taking little Susie or little Johnny off to kindergarten for the first time, and the kids are excited and the parents are crying. Oh, my baby's growing up. That kind of thing, So you got to make sure that you watch out for them that are distraught in the school zone. Okay?
I'm not even sure my dad slowed down to throw me out of the vehicle on my first day of school. So
okay, well, I
learned to tuck and roll pretty early.
And now we know why you are like you are, Jeff. If that's even close to being accurate.
That exactly went through my head too, James.
Going back to something we talked about in this day of sports history,
yes,
we talked about Don Baylor setting the single season record for hit by pitches.
Mm-hmm.
The official record is 51 in the non-modern era, which is, as we know, before 1900.
Okay.
This was 1896, was hit 51 times. The modern day era, very close to that, 1971, Ron Hunt of the Montreal Expos was hit 50 times during that year. So the current record is 50. Don Baylor is third among all-time hit by pitches.
And why was the 25th so significant today then?
No, it's just because Don Baylor got hit for a record 26th, and we had the discussion that number felt low.
Oh, okay. And then it turns out that it is low
compared to what the current record and the all-time record is.
Current record.
Craig Biggio is second, and Huggy Jennings was hit by a pitch for 287 times
in his career.
Okay.
We'll have,
or maybe it's Hughie, Hughie.
I liked Huggy better.
I liked Huggy better too.
We'll have baseball on the air for you today. The Astros and the Tampa Bay Rays from Tampa. 5:20, the broadcast time. Your first place, Houston Astros, okay, in the American League West. That'll be on 100.7 The Score. The Boston Red Sox entertain the Texas Rangers tonight at Fenway Park. 5:30, the broadcast time. First pitch just after 6. Eric Nadel had the broadcaster jinx going on in Game 2 of the game on Saturday, Jamie. The Rangers were doing great. They're going into the 8th inning. Gerson Garabito came on to pitch, and he gave up a couple of home runs in that 8th inning to make it a little bit closer, including one to Giancarlo Stanton, who hit a ball 451 feet. And Eric Nadel pointed out, he said, as only he can, because he grew up in New York and he grew up, going to a lot of games at Yankee Stadium back in the day. And he said that would have been an out in the original Yankee Stadium. It was 457 feet.
Gosh.
To center field.
Yikes.
And then he went down, the power alleys were 418, I think, and then it's 314 down one line and 3-something down the other line. And he said that this Yankee Stadium, he says, this is actually the third Yankee Stadium. He said the original was rebuilt in 1976, which is technically, I guess, kind of correct. But, I mean, they left a lot of what was the original Yankee Stadium, and they modernized it in 76. But he talked about, which I loved, because we'd talked about this, I don't know, a week or so ago, maybe a couple weeks ago, how Monument Park was in play in those days, and the ball would rattle off the monuments.
Yeah.
And then he said that he remembers fans being able to walk out of the stadium on the warning track at center field because it was closer to the subway station. So I thought that was awesome.
It's wild.
I thought that was awesome. So as only Eric Nadel can bring it for you, and I think he'll be on the broadcast tonight with Matt Hicks as the Rangers and the Red Sox do battle tonight. The Red Sox still in somewhat contention for a wild card. Rangers are they're just trying to win a series at this point. I think the Yankee series might have been their 6th in a row that they had lost, and 6 of their last 7. It's something along those lines in terms of series that they have lost. Meanwhile, the Astros are on a little bit of a roll here. They've won 7 of their last 10, so they're keeping pace with the Seattle Mariners, or the Mariners are keeping pace with them, depending on how you want to look at that. The practice will continue today for the Red Raiders. We're going to get some comments additionally from Coach Joey McGuire from what he thought and saw from their first scrimmage. Of course, the Red Raiders will be in action on August the 31st against Abilene Christian. He was asked about red shirts, Coach McGuire was, and he said that Cam Dickey, the running back, was not going to redshirt. He said Micah Hudson was not going to redshirt. And then he said, I'm hoping that we're not playing 4 quarterbacks. And one of those, Will Hammond, you do not want to use more than 4 games. You would like to redshirt him. So you'd like to just get him some action, get him to experience the college game a little bit, but don't want to have to, quote, use him. Okay, so I understand that. That's kind of what they looked at. He also said this, speaking about the depth of the defense, and you suffered some losses there with Dylan Spencer being out for the year with a non-contact knee injury that he suffered in the first or second practice of the fall camp. But he said that they played 22 guys with the ones on defense on Saturday, and so that's speaking to some of that depth that they feel like that they've been able to develop their defense.
Yeah, if you have 22 guys that you think are good enough to be a 1, that's a positive thing.
Yeah, but obviously you've got a little challenge there at that rush edge position.
This has been the Morning Drive Podcast, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction. Check out our library of Double T 97.3 podcasts at doublet97.3.com.